The places that I'm sure.
Good evening, welcome everyone. It is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. Welcome to the Historic Area Commission meeting. We'll start by having each commissioner state their name to establish a quorum. I'll go ahead and start. Sarah Hayward with us, Lisa Doak,
Mark Lorenz,
Michael Westman.
Stephen Franklin.
And Layla Hammer, architect.
also with us are Jeff Bergstrom, city building official, and Lisa Hatfield, city solicitor. So let's start with reviewing the minutes from the October 21st, 2025 special meeting and the December 11th.
I did not see anything.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything. Corrections.
I didn't see anything either. I abstained from the October.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 21st, 2025 special meeting. We're the only two people here.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was easy.
December 11th, 2025 meeting.
I'll have to abstain. I was unavoidably occupied on that day.
Yes, you were.
I did not see anything.
Any corrections on that?
No.
We have a motion to approve the December 11th, 2025 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you. So for the applications tonight, we have two applications to consider from the same applicant. So I think it would be, you know, for the sake of everyone's time, it would probably be most efficient if we review those back to back. That's okay with everyone. So then to start, we have 110 East 3rd Street, Frank Damarinis. If I didn't pronounce that correctly, okay. A garden shed in the backyard. I'm assuming you're here to represent this application?
I'm here for the deck. That's all.
I can speak for it.
Just state your name again for the record.
The Frank D. Rings.
Wonderful. Then could you please tell us a little bit about this project?
The shed is not prefabricated, so it would need to be constructed on site. However, all the materials are brought by vehicle from Ohio. The Born Peaks company is nationally well known. They whimsical and historical structures, which I believe an illustration was in there to the specs that we were planning. If it went into consultation, the husband and wife that do this is somewhat their retirement passion. Very open to any changes or adjustments. But generally speaking, they said if it's 5 by 6, that the height is mathematically double. So it would be 10 feet high, I believe, if it was 5. So it just, if you wanted to reduce the height, you have to reduce the size, is to what I understand. I did ask if any solid base needed to be done, like concrete or whatnot. They told me no, it would be just crush and run and leveling the current country garden area in the back. It really doesn't serve a functional purpose other than a couple of garden rakes, but admittedly, it's a large price tag for an aesthetically pleasing whimsical shed. Myself and my nonprofit purchased the property from someone close to us, Lois Barth, who passed. She was very involved with the Reed House. She loved her garden. I kind of wanted to do it as an access station for her and was kind of hoping to be part of the garden walk in the spring. I already have a nice Lois's garden out back, and my wife and I just kind of wanted to do it in more of a tribute to her. If it wasn't approved as is, my wife will probably be very happy based on the price tag. But the materials are barnwood type reclaimed materials. They hand select stained glass. It would be quite attractive. Not very visible from any right of way, certainly not the front of the house, but I do understand right of way also includes my neighbors. But I think it's an attractive addition, and they also have sheds. I don't think we would have any contestation based on the aesthetics of it. There would be no electric, nothing functional in there. I think that's it. It's more just a pretty thing in the back.
Yeah, first I want to mention, I know I said earlier, but thank you for a very comprehensive application. It's always good to have all the information there. So, in terms of materials, you're right. All the materials do meet the historic area design guidelines and standards, and we always appreciate even to the back of house, people using actually reclaimed wood and appropriate materials. So that is something, that I would have no issue recommending approval for. You had three options for the location at the rear of the property. Again, this is a case where unless there was a specific issue of setback towards the rear and the catty corner ones would help separate you a little bit from the neighbor. I do not have any specific preference related to the guidelines, whether it was straight centered or to the sides. And if the commission members want to put a certain, setback from the property line, that would be a different question. Also, if there's any setback from code perspective, but I know that in the historic area, in the historic district, it's the HAC that determines those. What I would say, the only comment that I would have, and I did appreciate that they did say that the height could be adjusted to 10 feet is needed, is I do think 12 feet, it's an object and quite an elegant object, but 12 feet gives it a very high prominence. So I would suggest and recommend going with 10 feet since it's an option that's presented. And the way they describe it, it seems that it won't necessarily impact the overall 5x6 because it's twice the 10. So my recommendation would be to approve it as provided with a caveat that the height be adjusted to 10 feet and see if any HAC members, do you have a preference for the location, whether catty corner or center? I know you expressed some, but not really sure.
I would personally prefer catty cornered. And it might even be more possible if we're reducing it to 10 feet, then it'll have to be a 4x5. It may be able to be done that way. The reason I asked for the center, something tells me based on setback and needing access to the back of the shed, cleaning out leaves, I didn't know if he could do a 5x6 rather than a 4x5 was catty cornered. So if we're going to do the smaller size of a 4x5, which would be 10 feet high instead of 12, I think it would be catty cornered.
Okay, and then typically you would want at least 2 feet, if not more, just
Correct.
so the caveat would be, say, unlike what's shown here, with the appropriate setback of between 2 to 3 feet
2 feet.
to allow for access around it.
Setback.
Do you have any comments or questions?
I read the materials and they were, well, indicated meet the HAC guidelines. Was just curious, on the slope of the roof, the large panel here, Was that like a solar panel? But I saw in there that there's no solar.
There's no solar.
Is that, it would be if it were solar?
However, no, I asked him that. That's not solar. It's
Skyline?
it kind of like a semi-translucent,
So let some light get into
Yeah.
it.
Is it like corrugated plexiglass?
some kind of recycled material.
Okay, cause that's.
I don't know what's included in there. I think it's just
I
like
just
dirty
was curious,
glass.
Cause the rest of it appeared to be wood,
Yeah,
reclaimed wood, that appeared to be kind of a
Metal perhaps, or, yeah.
metal or plastic, or I just wasn't sure what it was.
in fact, I forget the name of the landscaper that originally I saw it at, somewhere in Newark. And I saw it in person. On one side, they had a corrugated metal,
Okay.
like sheet metal, which just looked barn rugged, rusty.
Okay.
And then on the other side was that, which seemed to be like a kind of a dirty glass that allowed some
Well,
light through.
I think I know, I think I know what you mean. I think I've seen that before. I was thinking also solar
It's
panels.
on Hudson Park Road.
But I think I know what you're referring
So,
to.
Given that, Leila, are you still? Okay,
I was gonna say, because when you said stained glass, I wondered if that was gonna be the glaze. Since it is not visible from the public right of way at all, I think that would be acceptable to have some kind of light coming through translucent material. If this was visible from the public right of way, that would not be appropriate. So I think that's one of the things. Now, because it's reclaimed material, and you would wanna confirm, because that certainly does look like metal, which in that sense would be something for reclaimed corrugated metal, but
So to confirm it's metal?
yes.
Well, maybe confirm what the panel's made of.
What is it? Yeah.
Because it might be a.
Yeah, it was my understanding from.
So we don't want it to be plastic, basically.
It doesn't,
Well,
Leila, are you concerned that it's plastic or?
yes, and typically we would not recommend something that is like corrugated plexiglass with that type of material,
Okay.
because that is not appropriate at all. Whether if, for example, was corrugated steel, some type of reclaimed metal, because that would have been, you could have had some sheds that had metal roofing and that was reused, that would be one thing. So I would definitely say, let's confirm that specific one, and if the approval wants to be conditional upon a review of the material for a tier one, then we can have.
And they said they were very flexible, so I can easily say I'm hearing, just to sum up, 2 feet clearance, 10 feet high only, even if that assumes the reduction of the structure, and no plexiglass
Yes.
type materials. I'm sure that's very agreeable.
Okay.
They could-
I assume it could also be a solid roof.
It
Yes.
can be too, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's not really occupied.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Ed. I don't have any. further questions.
Actually, when you look at this
No,
document,
they're all across the country.
actually, at one point, I guess it could have been, because solar panels is actually,
Except-
Yeah, that's why they
crossed out, so, yeah.
Yeah, from that reading, I thought it was a solid cedar shape.
Because they removed it, and it's just a graphic kind of thing.
Mhm. I think this is a really nice project, and thank you for such a complete and thorough application. We really appreciate that. I think based on, I agree with Leila regarding the specs, the 4x6 at 10 feet high with the 2 to 3 foot setback. And I think this, with the condition of finalizing the location of where it will be, as well as confirming the materials for the roof, whether it's completely cedar shape or if there will be that corrugated metal accent. Other than that, I don't have any concerns about this project.
From what I heard Layla was saying, I didn't hear any concern about the placement. I thought the placement was fine, whether it was straight on or catty corner.
Yes.
Because it wasn't, it was just the idea of the
setback.
roof, so how
And the
does it need to be a
setback.
condition about placement? Just whatever the roof is.
I think just
But at
because the
least 2
preference,
feet.
yes, it needs 2 feet, and because the preference was expressed for catty corner, then I think it's okay to support the applicant's preference.
And does the application have to come back as a tier one once that's verified, or just we approve it?
I think if we want to err on the side of caution and just say, have a, have a tier one review, just confirming the material.
No, you don't have to come back.
Sure.
You don't have.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just an email, it's an email to
Okay.
Marika with a confirmation, forwarding the email to her, she will forward it to me, we'll process it, and the permit will be.
So I'm hearing the confirmation of the not to exceed 10 feet. Whether it's corrugated metal, cedar, whatever it is, and a confirmation of 2 feet clearance.
Yeah, the way it's worded, it's clearly approved for the 2 feet clearance, it's
Yeah.
clearly approved for the 10-foot height, thus the smaller shed. The one thing that needs to be confirmed before you move is the roofing material.
But
So that-
we're okay with the placement if it's either or. I'm
Yes.
hoping he could do my preference, but if he shows up from Ohio and he says, we're gonna have to do it this way.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Are there any public comments for this application? No? Are there any additional comments, questions? Concerns?
Thank you.
Then I think we can move forward with a motion. Would someone like to frame a motion for the garden shed in the backyard of 1110 East Main Street?
I make a motion for the approval of the garden shed,
With
condition approval, yeah.
the condition of confirmation of the roof materials and 10-foot high peak
And
and
setbacks of to the walls.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Congratulations. So then we're going to move on to the second application maybe, which is to demo an existing deck and replace with a new 2-story deck at same address, 110 East Third Street.
And again, before you do your presentation, just that PAC members could know that this is not a historic review certificate, it has been shifted to a consultation. Because not all the things were fair, and if they were here, it was good to get a feedback on the design. So that means it will come back as an actual application. Today is just discussing ideas and getting feedback from the commission. Oh, and the shift to consultation was done following with the approval of the applicant when they got the feedback on the initial review of the application. Thank you.
Hi.
Would you mind just stating your
Absolutely.
name?
So my name is Willard F. Hurd, HURD, the architect for the project. Much of what I have to tell you is on the first page, but I can either read it to you, or we can kind of skip to the drawings themselves. But maybe for the purpose of the record, I'll just say, the intention here is that the house, you can see from the pictures, is a very small house. It's so thing. And it has an existing deck that is in bad shape. And when we were talking about replacing the deck, one of the things that the owner was looking to do was to he is so close to the river and yet can't see it because he has no second story. So this was an opportunity to basically give an observation kind of viewing widow's walk kind of item on the house. So the deck would be rebuilt. It would be rebuilt slightly longer than the existing one, so that the stairs can fit in. But it will still have, you can see on page 3, it'll have this sort of angle, because the current, garden path goes past and then, and swings over around the landscaping. So we're holding to that. The second level would be square, because we've got the height, we're up in the air, so it would square off and line up with, the edges of the house. In terms of material, I had a lovely conversation with Jeff about kind of how we do decks in Newcastle, because it's not something I do a lot of. And so based on his recommendations and such, what we're gonna do is kind of a light gray stain on the wood framing members, because the house has got a kind of a bluish gray paint. So I thought a light gray was a nice way to kind of bring it into that sort of color scheme, without it being, bare wood. The posts would all be 6x6s to give them a nice sense of mass. They'd have a cap, and then they have an aluminum railing system in between them with black vertical balusters and white rails. Keep it clean. And that's really all I have to say about it. It is not a whole lot of.
So just to clarify the materials, because there's wood on deck is stained, but the decking is composite decking.
Oh, yes, so yes,
So,
the framing members would be stained.
okay, so the primary, the posts, the primary would be, everything else would be composite, and the lattice work would be composite.
Ideally, because of its contact to the ground. I would like it to be something of a more durable material.
And then you also have in the back this sort of separation with the neighbor.
Yeah, so the privacy screen up on the second level, because the deck extends past the back wall of the neighboring house. I wanted to provide basically, there is a window on the back wall. So I wanted to provide a privacy barrier between the two, so that no one's looking in anyone's face.
That would also be composite.
Yes, well, that could be wood. I had not gotten as far on that, but
So, okay, so I think in the case of this application, that's why, anything that's an addition comes to half, right? And in this case, I think the issue here is not so much one of material, it's a question of scale. You now have a 2-story deck that dwarfs the primary house. And that the guidelines are what's visible from the public right of way, but it's also a question of the scale within the property, and additions, which if you look at the graphic addendum, really show that any addition has to be subsidiary to the primary. And here, particularly, which is sort of visible with the 3D models, which are really helpful. It's a considerable addition because of the fact that it's 2 stories. So we're adding about, if I'm looking at the graphics that are correct, it's about an extra 50%, right? When I'm going to the length. So the scale of this, and not to mention that necessarily putting a second 2-tier porch to be able to look over to the river way beyond, this would not conform with the guidelines. And although I appreciate the sentiment of why you want to do it, it's not something that would meet the guidelines and standards in terms of the scale and the relationship with the existing. And if this
So
is
the
all-
second floor.
Yes,
all
the
the-
second floor would definitely be challenging.
Okay.
And particularly when you're talking about the scale where you have the house and it's almost actually, I'm glad that they came at the same time, what you're doing with the shed, which is this very sort of refined and small, element that counterbalances it. Having the deck just completely kind of wipes out that. So I would say if this were to make a slightly longer deck, the first floor deck, a better deck, and have the lattice work, because it is far back and because it's not visible from the public right of way, alternate materials can be deemed appropriate, as long as they're not vinyl. And here we're talking about a traditional, composite which is the Timberlake and things like that. The addition of putting, aluminum in the contracts and colors, it's something that would happen sometimes with wood, so that is also something that could meet the standards, but so I would say all of that is something for the approval. I would recommend disapproving, denying
The
the second
second
story.
floor, yeah. So since this is a consultation, we need to put in permits after the fact.
Well,
Do we just accept the consultation and then just put it in permit?
the second thing is just to answer that, and then the hack members can apply. The materials being acceptable, the design and overall the first floor. There could be a finding, but this is up to the hack member to decide to say, as presented, this concept is rejected. The concept of a two-story deck is rejected. The concept of a one-story deck addition based on these elements is accepted. And then final approval for the historic review certificate to provide the permit could be reviewed as a tier one as long as it's consistent with what has been approved. That would be one option. Another is to say, come back to hack with just that one story, and then that would have to be just next month.
I agree with Leila in terms of the scale and massing, and I also think that when you do add this second level, I think there's potential that could be visible from the public right of way on East Fourth Street. I mean, I understand, again, I understand the sentiment of it to do this. It is a small house and just having some additional space, but I think I agree with Leila in terms of this would really dwarf the structure, and it's too big. But I think the idea of extending the deck, of the first floor deck and making that longer so you can actually use it and enjoy the space is something that is appropriate.
Can I ask if there are any limitations on deck size or coverage? Or is that something that hack determines?
I think you would, I think you would still want to be proportionate to the house. Like, if you have a house and then you have a deck that's as long as the house because you want to double the surface, then we're talking almost about hardscaping of the yard, particularly when you look at this. So I would say making it bigger, but still keeping it within this it's about a 40 to 50%. I think going further, then you're sort of raising most of the backyard. And
Right.
if your intent is to have also a garden and a memorial and a shed, it's gonna get very crowded.
Yeah, no, I will just say, I don't think I'm gonna wanna go much further because the garden is fairly precious.
Because at this point with where the deck is, it's leaving about, 1/3 of the property as backyard, and then you're gonna take the shed, so your garden is becoming smaller.
Is something similar to
This is slightly longer, because right now that's just sort of the wall.
a couple feet.
Yeah, we are a little longer. Okay.
Are there any questions or comments?
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with the massing is just too large for the second story. So I don't have any issues with the first story porch. But the second story does not support the guidelines because of the massing.
So with the deck that is existing, there are no rails or anything on it. Is that something with just the first floor deck? Would you want to have the rails on it?
It should be
Yeah.
noted that the current deck, I realized this through the assessment phase, was never permitted.
Yeah.
I don't trust the footers. I cannot step up it myself without holding onto this metal thing out of the ground.
Yeah, good practice would be to have the railing.
And I'm really concerned. So that whole thing really needs to be demoed. I totally respect, the second floor being really out of scope. And really, I was gambling 50-50 tonight, but yeah, I totally understand, and again, a lot of these things are based on fundamental reasons to, put back into the property, but.
No, I just wanted to clarify that, just if this was a complete like in-kind replacement, and of course, that's why we have Jeff here also to.
Yeah, I'll say
make
that
sure
by,
it's-
by code, we wouldn't need a railing because we were below 30 inches. But my sense is that the narrowness of it
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah,
uncertain.
it looks nice.
Yeah, it does.
It has a nice finish.
Yeah.
So you may not have even thought about this yet, but essentially taking off the second story, would you want to keep the same design? Would you want it to be trellised over top of it, or would you just want to have it an open porch?
I mean, I
We haven't
think,
gotten there.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say this, that's why I say like you may not have even thought about it, but
No, but really, if it wasn't the second level, I really wasn't married to any particular. I think as long as it has rails, it's safe. It looks good. The color he was recommending. You get it, I think as close to the same footprint as possible. I know this seems silly, but every flower I take out of that garden is an issue for me.
Yes,
And
so,
there's a beautiful Japanese maple that I can't get near. I don't even wanna move it. So
and I
I've
think,
already hacked a lot of Lois's garden already, and I feel like, I just want to clean it up,
at a later date, should you want to put some kind of shaded area, then there's always the possibility of, on the existing building, putting one of those, like, one of those canvas awnings that can retract or something
That's
like
true.
that.
Right.
And that would just have to come back to hack.
And I think we'll have to see, because this is fairly north facing,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's very
it's
short.
not actually something I
It's
think I
very
want to
shaded.
shade.
Yeah.
I'm already concerned. One of the reasons that we were looking to get the composite approved is because of being north facing, it's, subject to the moisture more.
Easy to clean.
Easier to clean, and it's just on the bench, it's not gonna dry out. Where south facing is.
I mean, I think, apart from the second story deck, I think this is a really nice design.
I think so.
Materials.
Very much.
I mean, we could approve the concept, as presented with the changes that we've talked about, but if you're thinking, if you want to take some more time and you want to think about the design, or if you are thinking of a trellis or something, then
Based on the sense of urgency for safety.
Yeah.
And like you said, if it's an awning or a rail later, that's an easy later hack request. And that respects
Yeah.
the current footprint.
Yeah, I think if anything, the length of it may actually come back a little.
I think
Part of its length was just to make the stairs work.
what is, I think what will be sort of a good resolution is, since you do seem to sort of want to get moving with certain things, you can make the conditional approval we discussed, and it is based on this application. So if any change comes, and if Will says we're gonna change the footprint, we're gonna change this or that, then that's easy enough to say, okay, it comes back to hack. And it's just acknowledged that there's those changes, and you'll take a couple of weeks to figure that, and you'd be within the timeline of the 15 days before the next hack meeting. And then that would be best that way.
Because as Will noted, the extra length was really to accommodate the stairs, so it wasn't like jacked up like
Yeah.
a ladder. So actually, and we'll confirm that one piece, if anything, it could shrink back 2 feet and save some of our flowers.
Yep.
So if anything, it'll be smaller.
And that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing typically, because it is within, we have had things within that, if footprints get smaller, then that is something that could be potentially administrative, but I think at least now we figure it out worse this next month, or if not, it gets.
Are you approving of this length if it stays that length?
No, I think what we're approving it is at this length, or, and you can add, or potentially a reduced length.
Because I was just gonna say, rather than have them come back, it could be not to exceed
Yes,
the length in this plan, and that way, that way you wouldn't
Yes.
have to come back if it's less.
Yes, that's actually, yeah, perfect.
So maybe not to exceed the length or,
Or not to exceed the footprint as shown in the submission.
19 feet 6 inches.
Yes, that's the road that was safe at that point, then it could be a tier one. Once you get the building permit on.
We're also approving in concept, the design, the materials.
Yeah, we're denying the second floor deck. We're approving. That's deck. So we have to deny that, but then approve the rest. Conditionally.
We also have to approve the demolition of the existing one.
Yeah, it's part of the also it's a replacement deck, so it's implied.
Are there any public comments regarding this application? All right. Someone like to go ahead and frame a motion to deny the, do we need to do these?
I would do
separate?
I
Okay.
would do two, yeah.
So do we have a motion?
I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, that's
It should always be in the affirmative, so it'll be a motion to approve the second deck, and then the vote will reflect whether or not you want to approve it.
That's good. So a motion to, yeah, you got it.
Motion to approve the second floor deck for the submission at 110 East Third Street in Newcastle.
One second.
Or I can die from a lack of.
That's exactly right, so it'll be denied from a lack of, yep.
Motion to
Then,
approve the first floor deck for the submission at 110 East Third Street, with the caveat that the overall length does not exceed what is presented, and the materials are what are presented.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So for this next one, 42 Strand, Delaware Historical Society, thank you so much for coming in. I am going to recuse myself from this application, just in the spirit of transparency. I occasionally work as a consultant for the firm that is doing this project. I was not working with them at the time they did this bid, or wasn't involved in any way with the proposal, but to avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest, I'm going to step away and Lisa, if I miss you.
You can sit in the audience, or you can leave the room either way. Yeah, just leave the table.
So is there someone here who would like to speak on the application for the Newcastle, for the Delaware Historical Society?
Yes, I'm Laura Earls, I'm the director of the Reed House of Gardens. So basically this project is conserving what is already there. The architrave surrounding the front door of the Reed House has suffered from a considerable amount of rot over the last almost 3 years now. We have had multiple conservators look at it, and most of the damage appears to be due to the use of acrylic-based paints. So what we are proposing is conserving what is there. I have pieces, as you can see from the photographs, several pieces of the punch and gouge molding have broken off. I have those in my possession. We will do our best to conserve any original materials. And we are going to, the firm that we're going with, Burns and Galloway, will be using linseed-based products, which are historically accurate. They have a full range of historically accurate paint colors as well, so we will match the paint color, and the linseed products will hold up much better to water and all the weather that being right on the water there can flow out the doorway. In addition to this, they will also be varnishing the front door. It has faded considerably, and there's some cracking, but that is again just restoring what is already there.
Oh, yes, thank you for a very complete application too. And yes, it's a textbook preservation, restoration project on a key building in Newcastle. It certainly meets all the design guidelines and standards, and I would recommend the approval of this, and I certainly hope it's gonna be documented, so people can come and see what they got.
We are planning on that actually, and I have a meeting first thing tomorrow morning to talk about things.
I noticed the focus of the restoration work is above the front door or around the front door. Did you also, I'm sure you probably did, but inspect all the other, architectural features, the other windows, the second story, large window too, if that's suffering the same thing, or around the back,
So
the north side?
that is, we haven't been able to assess the entire, all the windows on the front of the house. We do have issues with water infiltration throughout the house, but that's going to be a larger project, once we move past this one. This is simply the worst of what's there, and I attached the estimate there. It's, we have some grant money that we are fortunately able to use to cover this, and once this project is complete and our garden renovation project that we're working on is complete, we hope to move on to the rest of the building envelope.
Do you have a, maintain a record for the future? Given the problem we've had with the type of paint that was used previously and now having to rebuild product, fast forward 10 years from now, you're all moved on to something bigger and better, and you have a new person sitting. Do you maintain records of what you've done to the house, or does that person go back and go, oh, we don't want to use the acrylic, we want to use the.
Absolutely.
I have to admit, going through this paperwork, I learned a lot about linseed oil paint that I did not even into that. I was like, wow. I was like, okay. So yes, that was very, very informative. Very informative.
So, is some of the punch and gouge going to have to be recreated? It can't be, I know they said Dutchman, but is Bruins and Galloway, or do you have someone who would have the specialty to come in and recreate the punch and gouge?
So they select subcontractors,
Okay.
so I have yet to discuss which subcontractors they'll work for. But I anticipate with the amount of punch and gouge that I have in my possession, I'm hopeful that we won't have to recreate very much of it.
Questions?
I have no questions.
Is there any questions or concerns from the public? Would anyone like to put forth a motion?
Move that we accept this application as presented.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. And the last application will be for One Battery Park. Leslie Del Grosso.
Yeah, this is my mom, Leslie Del Grosso, my
Okay.
son.
Okay.
My mom's a stroke survivor. She can't speak very well.
Okay.
We are trying to,
Sir, could you state your name?
oh, I'm Joey Del Grosso.
Thank
Where
you.
you from?
Would you like to explain a little bit about the project?
Well, when we bought the house in August, the house got empty for over 3 years. We were given a long laundry list of things that we have to fix. But my contractor here, Tom, looked at the project with me before we even put a bid on it. And one of the big things was my mom's ability to get around. So we were gonna have to redo the landing and stairwell for the front of the entry of the left side of the house. It is kind of complex. And just figured because we were already gonna have to do like some type of 3x3 foot new stairway like landing, that it would be better to add a front porch, which would be better for my mom to stay on one level. And then the back porch, the footers are just completely rotten. And probably wouldn't last more than another year or so. We do plan on doing other projects to the house, so we're just attempting to get my mom moved in, into her side. We have some internal stuff that we're working on as well. This is a good, my father passed away a year ago, and so this is kind of our way to move on. We don't live far from you already. But we definitely want a sense of urgency to get started because we're paying the mortgage and we're not like fully living in there. So that's important to us.
Any comments?
Yes, so, I know that when we did the preliminary review, I had just some questions about the overall scale, and I know an email was sent with some sketches, and I don't know if it made its way into the printed set, which we have in there. I'm just not sure which page was that. I think just in general, the examples that you show and you talk about pressure treated wood. And typically porches within the historic district tend to always be finished in painted wood as opposed to rough, and the design that you have here, I have no issues with extending the footprint of the deck at the front porch to provide additional access, and there is no issue with the rebuilding of the rear deck. It's more a question of the design of the finishes of what the railing is gonna look like, because this looks all very rustic. I would suggest, because you don't have the building, they haven't submitted for permit yet, have they? Or is this what they're submitting for permit?
This
This,
Tom,
Yeah.
Mikhail. So this is my first time dealing over here. So I just went in and I basically submitted everything to her, and she said that we would do this, and then I'd have a building permit.
yeah, no, and what I mean is, I know that it's been submitted as a building permit. I'm saying when I look at some of the details that are very rustic and that thus would not meet the design guidelines and standards what's done in the Historic Area Commission. I think there have been times where we afford, and with the additional information you provided, there have been times, and Lisa's here, where we've afforded the opportunity to say, this can be treated as a consultation with your approval, which means that PAC can give you feedback on the materials, on the size, and then say after that, we discuss, we can have conversations if you're not as familiar about what would be more appropriate, what would be a design that would be more appropriate. And then, again, it can be two ways, either the scale is approved, I think because you would probably still have to come back to HAC, but at least you would not have an application denied, or at least I would make a recommendation for denial in the way it stands. So if you're comfortable with that, and this can be treated as a consultation, then we can have a sidebar and come back with something where I could say, yes, we could dig into the guidelines, we could back and forth. Obviously, your client is the one that would have the last word, and then come back with something that potentially I could recommend approval of to HAC.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think the biggest thing for myself and my mother is like just a sense of urgency. I mean, we're paying a hefty mortgage, and
Yeah.
we were living in the second home while having this one. Be honest with you, like my personal goals of this house are to do quite a bit of work. And so it's tough to say certain things because I would like to change the color of the house, but again, that's not my first priority. Certain things like leaving, if you're gonna use pressure treated wood, you're not supposed to paint it
Well, that's where we have it to have,
for so long.
You
And
have to.
I would like to paint it because on the other side of the house, it is painted.
Exactly.
We're going to match it, but at the moment, I don't really know what color I want to paint the house.
So I think where this becomes, perhaps because you want to do a number of things to the house, and because the city has set up the consultation, I would suggest treating this as a consultation, but when we meet, we don't just talk about what you want to do with the porch, but if you have any questions, even if you're not planning, optimize that session about talking about potential other things so that when you come to that next step, you're already prepared, you understand, and then that can expedite anything else that you might want to do.
Okay. I just wanna get started.
Yeah.
I wanna give it.
And we want to
I
be
give it
able,
an
we
option.
want to be able to recommend an approval rather than say we deny this application. And then you'd have to come back with a new application anyhow. So it's kind of either or. But if you're amenable, then maybe this way Hack can already opine on the scale, the design, the layout. And that way it'll be on record and we can have that conversation when you come back.
If they do that, it could be a tier one.
Yes, if they think it could be a tier one, because, you know, after our consultation, if I approve it, and they can say that, which means you wouldn't have to wait to come back to the whole commission. That's what
I
I
mean,
mean.
I'm all about speeding.
Absolutely.
Well, I think, when we talk about the design, in terms of being, you know, rustic, not just the finish, but I think, you know, having, like a post cap and similar to what already
Yeah.
exists here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
We would definitely wanna match up like this on the right side, which is the historic part of the house. The former owner Barbara, I guess, built that second part in the mid-90s. And the decking that's in the back matches the front, so we're just gonna try to match that. But again, painting it is something.
I have a question. So the documents here, I think these were just showing the pressure treated. Was that just showing just for an example? Okay.
Yep.
So when you redo the deck, the base was still being closed with the lattice work?
Oh, yes, on the
Okay.
back, yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
it's gonna be exactly the same, it'll be a tiny.
okay.
So I think with the wood lattice, just because of the visibility from.
Yes, I think, and we'll have to have that level of detail on the back, we'll have to have that level of detailing on the front, and that's not present here. Because these were actually done for this, but they look like a very different design with the rail, more like Syria.
I think these were just showing as examples of what pressure treated. with the-
Yeah.
Yes, I think
The
these,
actual, yeah.
it was more looking at these sketches.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And these are the ones that, you know, they look very different from what's currently there, and these are the ones that we need to revisit to make sure that what you build is more consistent with the guidelines and standards.
Yeah.
And you can get my contact information and email with the city,
Yeah.
and they'll put us in touch.
Okay.
Are there any thoughts, questions, concerns?
Reviewed the material and took a walk around the property today. I don't have any issues with the scale of the proposed two decks, the one on the front being slightly larger than the back. My only concerns were a little confused with the finish, having skirting, wood lattice around the bottom, a paint or a color stain to match, and some kind of post cap on the. Other than that, though, I didn't really have any issues at all with the placement, the scale of it. So, you know, I have a little work to do, but I think you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And it's a great property.
Yeah, it's neat, I mean, we feel.
Nice view.
we
Nice
feel
view.
very blessed.
It's definitely a
Yeah.
nice area. I just want
Need
to
to have some a lot of lights.
It does look like on this design, they do have the post cap here on this.
Yeah, I think I was just confused by seeing the example of the pressure
Yeah,
treated lumber.
yeah.
And that was the design, and that's not.
Because of so I think I also don't have a problem with the scale of, you know, the increase in the decks on the deck on the front and on the back. But I think just in terms of material and then design and the finishes is what we need to discuss.
Nail down.
So
we have basically been told that, just because both him and I are new in this, in the city, but, that we were gonna have to go natural with all, products. I mean, I would love to have synthetic, just because of, the fact that we're getting blasted by like wind and water. But, at the end of the day, we're trying to move the house and have a nice home that fits.
And we really appreciate that because it is, with Newcastle, it's not just a beautiful town, it's a national historic landmark district. And it's one of the few in the country that has had this level of integrity, so we really
Yeah,
appreciate.
and our house is kind of the centerpiece of.
It is.
So, we're looking at this as being something that's beneficial for her and I at the moment, but also in the future. This is a nice step up for us. We don't live far from here. I found the house running in the park, so.
wonderful.
I frequent the park well before we, behind this house.
So are we saying we kind of maintain the current visual in the new concept, that's kind of what we're.
So we're approving the concept in terms of the footprint of the modified rear deck and the modified front deck. But all of the design of the actual features and materials and finishes must be resubmitted for approval, potentially as a tier 1. And I always say potentially because if somebody decides to come back and very strongly feels that they want to put vinyl, then it'll be like, well, it's a no, and you can come to hack and that kind of thing. So that's how we word it.
Maybe explain to them what that means, because that doesn't mean you have to start over with a
Yes.
new application.
It's an administrative, so
Email.
it'll be submitted. You won't have to pay because you already paid for this. When you have the permit detail after we speak, they'll have to go back to the city. The city will just email it to me. I will review it and I will respond. We typically respond between either 2 to 3 days or maximum a week. If there are any comments, obviously, I will share them with Rika. She'll reach out to you. I'm also available to have either a virtual or an on-site discussion where I could come, we meet, we talk about that and other things. And then you provide it and it gets turned around. So it doesn't have to wait to come back in a month.
Okay.
It can be done.
And now, if we were to use PT, pressure treated wood, it has to dry out before we can go ahead and stain it. If we pick out our stain colors to finish it to matte, how's that work?
We have to have, and I think we can have that level of technical discussions about the types, because with some of the types of finishes and railings that are probably more appropriate than simple pressure treated wood.
Okay,
We
like
have-
cedar or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Some of those would have to be, and they would be painted. It's very rarely that one says, yes, put pressure treated wood and come back in a year or whenever it's finally exhaled to come and paint it. That would not fly. as an
Okay.
So then we can approve this. We can approve this as a concept in terms of the modified footprint of the front and rear decks. Pending a consultation with you to discuss the level of finishes, design, and
Yeah, I would just say to discuss the final design and materials for conformance.
I'm gonna make a out of the box suggestion.
Yes.
I'm going to suggest, rather than switch it completely to a consultation, that somebody make a motion to partially approve the application as to footprint and size, with deferring the remainder of the application for tier 1 review and approval pending tier 1 review.
that's.
And we're gonna be reusing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, what she's.
Yes.
Exactly. Comments from the public regarding this application. Are there any additional questions, comments, concerns? Would someone like to make a motion?
Adjourn?
We're getting there. Horses. So to partially approve the application in terms of the modified footprint on the front and rear deck, and then to defer the struggling with my words
The
today.
remaining approvals.
Remaining approval.
Including, materials and designs.
Thank you.
Sure.
I would make that with
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for, presenting this and talking with us, and just, get in touch with Marika in the city office and she will put you in touch with Kayla. You can go from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, I appreciate you guys coming on. So, we need to reopen the minutes because, as Lisa pointed out to me, if you look at the minutes on both the October 21st and December 11th minutes, they both say October 9th as, so on, yes, October 21st, it's a motion was made by Ms. Batty, and then on, December 11th, it's a motion was made by Mr. Westman. And I'm not sure which minutes, fit which.
So,
meeting.
yeah, I was gonna say, my guess would be that the October 21st is correct, because that would be right after the October 9th, and then I believe probably just a cut and paste didn't occur
I
on the
think
next one
because we
of the
didn't
actual
have the
date.
November meeting, so I think
Right,
probably we didn't.
so I think the December meeting should be approval of the October 21st. Is what I believe should have happened. But I mean, there isn't a rush in approving the minutes, so what I would do is reopen and table to the next meeting for the correction to be made and then approval next time.
Do we have a motion to reopen the minutes and table them for the February?
I'll make a motion to reopen the minutes and table them until the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Always do this with these papers. I shuffle everything and then I can't find them. So the signage and the historic commerce district document that we've been working on, we had a chance to talk about it with legal counsel, and we do have something ready to review, but it's not appropriate tonight. So we will review that in February.
It's not this.
I guess it's just not in, I guess it's just not in. I guess it's just not in my packet.
It's way at the end.
Oh, sure enough. That is.
I feel like we stuck a little bit. Here, you can.
I
see it.
Would you like that? Well, you've seen
No,
it too.
yeah, I read it just now.
I think it was
It's lost
folded,
from the Lucy Law.
no, it was folded inside the,
It was, it fell out when I opened it up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for catching that. So for our new members, this is something that we started working on, gosh, I think almost a year ago. And it's basically, the idea was to have a handout that could be provided to business owners who move into the historic commerce district, whether or not most people are renting. So I don't know that it's always conveyed to them that they are in a historic district and there are guidelines and standards that they have to follow. So this is not intended to replace or supersede any of the ordinances or standards that we have. It's just basically a high level overview of the application and review process for signage. So, we were thinking that the idea would be when someone does register or apply for a business license in the city, this is something that could just be given to them. And then of course they can they can call the city office, they can go to the website, they can look at the design guidelines and standards, but this is just a nice way of, instead of people spending money on signage that then isn't appropriate and they can't use, to kind of intervene and provide them with a nice way of just letting them know that, hey, there are some rules to follow. And these examples of appropriate and inappropriate signage materials was something that we had in the first document. And I don't know if there's any issue with these.
The only thing I want to make sure, like, those were not, they're not local examples, correct?
They aren't. The only local example is the M&T Bank.
No, the ones that conform are fine. Typically, when we
Oh,
do,
and-
when we do
Yes.
things that are not appropriate, we avoid putting pictures of.
Yes,
Yes.
we did discuss that. And I think
Business
I
is
just
up
wanted
there.
to make sure, I didn't recognize any of them, I just wanted
That's
to make sure.
that wouldn't make us any friends.
And it's not just, it's pretty much in every historic district, because the idea is you just want to show things that are generic.
When I was reviewing it, I was wondering, there are some non-conforming signs currently in the city. And this would not, it doesn't appear, force any of those signs to be changed.
This is an informational document,
Yeah.
for people who are looking to install a new sign.
Right. It doesn't,
Non-conforming signs that exist, that's a matter of enforcement, and I think that's being discussed in other forums with the city and
Good.
legal counsel and Tara and Jeff.
so just because someone has their neon open sign up doesn't mean that that's gonna be there for, indefinitely. So that there may be a,
Or
It should not, but we,
would it be grandfathered in because it's already there? It's not, I'm asking.
typically, this is not the forum, so we do not discuss
Yeah.
enforcement, typically.
they're the different.
For the guidelines, when something has occurred and that was, it's different when we talk about something that was previously approved by the Historic Area Commission, but would not comply. Then if somebody came to say, I wanna do it, it was approved in the past, then it's like, no, that was non-compliant, it was approved, we cannot speak to why, but it does not conform with the guidelines, it cannot be replicated. Issues of things that were done without a documented approval from Historic Area Commission, that becomes a conversation of enforcement between the building code official, the city, and legal counsel.
That's,
We have to
that's great.
comply
I
with
just
the-
was wondering,
Mhm.
as I walked around, it's
Yes,
kind of jarring sometimes when you run into the sign that isn't in keeping. Okay, great, thank you.
finalize the story.
Yeah.
Are there any questions, concerns, comments, thoughts?
Are you asking for approval of the informational, or is this just brought to us for informational purposes?
Well, it's something that we started working on, and I suppose because we made a motion on the previous version. And then it needed to go, to the city administrator for review, and then to legal counsel for review. And then we had a meeting about what needed to change. The previous document was it was really large, and I think contained some elements that weren't necessarily appropriate for this kind of handout. So based on those conversations, this is the revision. Based on those conversations, this is the revision that we came up with. And so I think it would be, this step tonight would be to take, would be for us to, do we need to make a motion on this?
If you want to accept it in the form that it's in, yeah, I would make a motion. If there's comments, changes, corrections, you can table it till next time. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but my take of the intent is for cliff notes. Cliff notes for people that are.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So it's not intended to be all comprehensive, but just to give them a starting place. And then we actually added some references to the code so that they can then go there if they want further information. But in fairness, I don't know that you need it done tonight, but so if people didn't read it, which is the sense I'm getting, and that's okay.
We can certainly
You know,
table this for next
yeah.
time, if, you know, you all would like to take a little bit more time.
Yeah.
to Look at it, that's perfectly fine.
And then what I would suggest, if there are comments, perhaps if those, now I know that they cannot be an emailed conversation, but they can be sent individually to Marika, who can then share them with Lisa, with myself and Tara, since you were taking the lead, and then that, I think I would recommend that that be done before the next meeting, so that if there are any questions, they be taken into account, if there are issues, why not, so then when you come, you would have a comprehensive discussion.
Yeah, and I, on something like this, I could be mistaken, but I don't expect that you're gonna have a ton of comments, maybe some red line, there might be something that you want to. And so what I would suggest is that she take everybody email, is it Marika? I'm sorry, is that
Yeah.
saying that right?
Yeah, Marika.
That everybody, email Marika individually your red lines, and then she could put it into one big red line and send it back out. And then it will be ready for discussion, because that will be part of the packet. What you can't do is discuss it.
Yeah.
But you can send it to her so that she can make a red line, bring the red line to the next meeting and discuss the changes there. And then we can accept red lines or get rid of red lines at that time.
And that way you could review them and we could review and see if there's any comments about them, particularly from your perspective, then that will be noted during the meeting. And it could be shared with a markup of the document that we put in the packets for discussion.
That makes sense.
Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Do you wanna make a motion to table this for the
Yeah, motion to table the February meeting.
next second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. And then we have, last item is a planning commission update. Do you have a planning commission update for us?
No. At this point, no, I do not, because I did not attend last month's planning commission meeting, because able to,
All right.
so do not have an update.
Well, with that, there's no further business, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Lisa Joe.
You're welcome. Yes, it's Lisa's last meeting with us.
Oh.
It's on my time.
Thank you, Judy.
I served my. You've done your civic.